we go, episode 243 of the Downward Facing Spiritual Spiral podcast. Thrilled you're listening, always thankful. You've got 89 billion podcasts at last count, and whether it's the algorithm or whether it's your own instinct, intuition, inspiration, you are here listening to today's episode, and you're in store for a wonderful, stimulating conversation, a fun conversation with my friend from high school. It's probably his third or fourth time on the show, Matt Dery. He's based out of Detroit, Michigan. His resume currently includes host of the Locked On Lions podcast, the Pistons pod, also the Dery Brothers Guardians cast. So he's got his hands on 3 podcasts right now. He's also the marketing and business development director at Financial Architects and Q5 Experience. I say all of that because I don't know if we talk about any of those areas on this episode. One of my, before you listen to the podcast, really brief intro here. One thing that I always like in a podcast is somebody who sort of totes that line between asking questions, but also allowing the podcast to flow and sort of expand and meander. Well, not necessarily meander, but ebb and flow. I don't feel like we ever meandered, but it ebbs and flows in a natural momentum. Gosh, I really didn't have any idea what the heck we were going to talk about, but we do talk about getting older. We talk about allowing the empty space to take over. Like I was watching the Jets. Who the heck did the Jets play last night? I'm testing my memory. They played the Bills last night. What Matt and I talked about actually comes up in the football game that I watched last night. At the end of the game, the Jets runner, I sound like I'm completely ignorant when it comes to football, but I don't watch football that often. But the Jets player runs the ball all the way back for the game-winning touchdown. And Joe Buck doesn't say a word. He just allows the crowd to envelop, he allows the emotionality of the crowd to enrapture us in that moment. And so we talk about being quiet. We talk about, obviously, sports. We talk about LeBron James. We talk about getting older. And we talk about sort of a carpe diem attitude. What are we living for right now? So the thing I love about Matt, beyond the fact that we've been friends for over 30 years, he never holds back. He went to college and studied communication. So you can tell in our conversation that he's very comfortable in front of the mic. I apologize. The first very few moments, he comes in hot. If you major in communications, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I level out the levels, and I think it's a great chat. So you can find Matt on Twitter. Twitter is his home, where he lives on social media. You can find him on Twitter at Dery Speaks. He's, of course, on Instagram at Matt Dery. But again, he's the host of the Locked On Lions podcast, the Pistons pod, the Dery Brothers Guardians cast podcast. So you can listen to him, as soon as you're done listening to this podcast, go check him out on those various podcasts that he hosts. That's it. You know where to find me on social at Eddie Cohn or the Spiritual Spiral podcast. I've had a bunch of new listeners from Russia and Ireland the last few weeks. No idea how you've discovered this podcast, but please reach out. Say hi. Let me know how you discovered the show. I'd love to hear from you. Any questions, reach out. I've got a few other great guests lined up. I've actually already spoken to them, so I'll be editing those podcasts in the next few weeks. Matt, as always, man, it's great to see you. Great to talk to you. Whether it's been a week or a year since I've seen you, it's just always easy to get on the phone, or in this case, get on Zoom and talk to you. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. And as always, thanks to you for listening, supporting, being a part of the Downward Facing Spiritual Spiral podcast. Nice to see you.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, man.
What's happening?
I was. Well, lots happening. One of my pet peeves with, you probably noticed with podcasts, is I can't stand when people just like shoot the shit for 20 minutes and then they get into the nitty gritty. So whenever
they're not. This isn't recording right now, right?
Yeah, we are. We're already recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but but I can delete stuff. But yeah, that's why
I like when you do an intro and we start, like, not, this is a little awkward.
Well, but actually, but this sort of brings up a point up to something that I was thinking about with you coming on. You've done a lot of live telecasts and a lot of live radio, and I podcast. But it is interesting to me, like, in the back of my mind, I know there's intentionally, I will probably post this part. And I may ultimately edit it. I'll take out if I say, or something, I may take those out. But I feel like the art of like, being live. I don't know if I can go live on Instagram right now, but there is something to be what
there's a genuineness to it, as long as you let people know they're on and it's recording and it's on.
Yeah.
You can't, like, if I was starting to swear, or
sure,
not that swearing is abnormal or anything, but
right.
Like,
you are actually missing my point, because I wanted to compliment you and sort of direct it at you.
Yes.
There is something to be said about going live professionally. Not like anybody can go live on social media, but to have those chops where you actually have the chops to go live professionally, I think takes a certain, what is that?
I just think it's it's definitely repetitions, and like you said, like, some people just freeze on camera, or it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, I remember, I like, oh gosh, I don't want. All right, I got to phrase this the right way. I've been around play-by-play guys that end of a huge game, and they're sitting here, all of a sudden, here it comes, 3, 2, 1, and they're like, "What a great win for the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are the world champions." And I'm like, you're fucking reading that? Like, you wrote out, you scripted your ending? Like, come on, man. It drives me crazy. Like, you can tell. It's like, no. Like, when Jack Buck said, when Kirby Puckett hit the home run in whatever World Series that was against the Braves, 87.
Yeah.
And he went, the ball's flying over the fence, and he goes, "And we'll see you tomorrow night." That was awesome. Like, it wasn't like, and the Twins have done it. They have tied the series, and we will see you tomorrow night for Game 7. No, put your script down. You know?
Well, there is, I forget, I think his last name's Buck, the son.
Joe Buck. Yeah.
I know he's very polarizing. I happen to think he's fantastic. And
I've always thought Joe Buck was good. Yeah.
I've never understood people that don't like him.
Oh, God. There's a lot of people that hate him.
I know.
I don't get it. I don't get it either.
Here's again, this is sort of, there is an art to knowing when to not talk.
Yes.
And I think that,
I
don't know, how do you learn that? And also sort of to present day, is that something that you think people are forgetting the value of, just hearing the crowd noise, or in a conversation, not talking about yourself? I mean, is that something that you learned or became aware of? And is it something that you even think about now?
Yeah, I know. I do. I mean, I haven't called a game in a while. I did a couple of G League games here in Detroit last year. But other than that, but you're right. Sometimes laying out is the best thing. When Kirk Gibson hit that homer in '88, and Vin Scully just said, "She is gone," and then went a minute to a minute and a half without going silent.
Yeah.
Let the pictures tell the story. But these new guys now, like Gus Johnson and others, just have to have all these one-liners and talk more, and the color guys talking. No, just lay out and let's just let it breathe. I'm with you on that.
I feel like I had no idea what we were going to talk about, but I'm curious about this area, because Tony Romo is so lionized and popularized, and people love him, but I find him exhausting to listen to because he won't stop talking.
Yeah. No, he had a really good first year, remember? And then they gave him that giant contract. They're like, oh my gosh, this guy's revolutionizing color commentary on the NFL, on football, on Fox, or on CBS, because he's calling the plays. He's saying, hey, watch this on 3rd and 9. They're going to run here.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, run? No one runs on 3rd and 9. And they run the ball and they get a first down. Everybody went, oh my God, Romo's a genius. This is great. That wore off after the first year.
Yeah.
In the second year, there were whispers about, why is he cackling? Why is he sounding more Southern? Why is he cutting Jim Nantz off? And then last year, he just seemed out of it. Like he wasn't good last year. Like it was a tough watch sometimes listening to him go, you know what, GM? And it was like, oh, shut up. But the first year he was a genius. He got $18 million a year with a new contract. And then the last couple of years, it hasn't been so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, it's something that I guess there's something that I notice. My cat, sorry, I won't shut up. I know a lot. It's similarly in the film world. Oppenheimer, I know, is really popular right now. I went to see it, and although it was visually,
how was it?
You know, it's obviously too long. It's 3 hours, and it's visually really well done, but it's nonstop talking. And I guess there is something to be said about, as a writer or as a commentator, and I think about this a lot. There's this great show called The Bear on Hulu that just came out, which
I've heard about it.
Fantastic.
Have you watched Only Murders in the Building?
No, I have not.
It's phenomenal.
Okay, we'll check that out next.
And it's with Steve Martin.
Yeah,
and
sure, Martin Short. And the main
Selena
singer.
Gomez.
Yeah. Well, my point with when I was watching The Bear and as we're talking about commentators, like in the film world, how do you know what to tell people? Like when it comes to backstory, do I have to tell this person? Wait, my cat won't stop. Like, do I have to write like why does Jamie Lee Curtis act this way? I mean, or when do you let the viewer sort of figure things out by themselves? And again, it feels like we're moving towards a culture where we need everything sort of spoon-fed towards us. And again, sort of to my point about Tony Romo and sports and Joe Buck, I think there's that subtle sort of nuanced middle area where when does somebody know what to tell the listener, and do you trust that they're going to figure it out themselves?
Well, and I know you love this topic, and so we can go here, but with social media, which is you love talking about this, Ed. With social media now, all these play-by-play guys are like, I got to have that signature one-liner. I got to refresh my Twitter and see Awful Announcing or Jimmy Traina or one of these guys on Twitter say, great line by Ian Eagle or Noah Eagle or Joe Buck or whomever. When in reality, if you're doing TV and something big happens, lay out. Let the picture tell the story. You're not the story. Like I said, I mean, I remember years ago when Gus Johnson was doing an Ohio State game and Denzel Ward smashed a guy. It was a great hit. All right. And Gus said something about, oh, I'm not invited to the barbecue. Shame on you. And everybody went, greatest line ever, Gus barbecue. There were people watching the game that went, with a hit like that, you probably didn't even need to say anything. You saw, now, if you're doing radio, you've got to describe.
Yes.
Far side pass. Oh, broken up by Ward. What a hit. You could throw something in there. But for TV especially now, you're right. Sometimes just lay out, let it go. If the crowd's going nuts or a guy's running down the sideline for a game-winning score, say touchdown and then be done. Let it breathe. But everybody now has got, hey, I'm going to have my one-liners and I'm going to be famous and I want to be recognized on Awful Announcing or SI, the media podcast, or Richard Deitch, or whoever these, guys that write, Marshawn in the New York Post is awesome as a media writer, but is it about calling the game and getting it right and having a good call, or is it about getting your, I want to be on the, I'm going to get my name on Twitter. Who cares?
Yeah. Do you miss, last little area here, do you miss being a little quote unquote live, or you are live like post game for some shows, aren't you?
Well, like I did the midday show on the Fan in Cleveland yesterday, on Wednesday. I did 4 hours filling in.
But that's a long that's a long amount of time to be live. And
It is, but like, not first of all, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland's great. It's a really good station. It's been around now 12 years. I've been filling in since 2016. I don't want my own show. I don't want to go home. I don't. I mean, Andy, the PD, the program director there, has asked me numerous times, like, hey, we may have an opening. You want to come back? I'm like, no, just keep calling me when you need me to fill in.
Yeah.
But the station sells, which means we have commercials. So from 10, if you're doing, say I did 10 to 2 the other day, we were on the air from 10:01 when the open fired to, because you got a sports update at 10, 10:01:30 the show open starts. Now at 10:02 you really start talking. Then you go to commercial on at either 15 or 16 because you've got 4 minutes of commercials. Then a 10:20 sports update.
Right. Okay.
So then you think, 4 hours, that's hard. It's not really 4.
It's
more
probably
like
an hour and a half.
You got 14 minutes, 5 minutes of commercials, another 15 minutes, 4 minutes of commercials. So if you're at a station or you're somewhere where there's commercials, it's okay. Like the show I do every day, the Locked On Lions podcast, talking about the Detroit Lions on a very good network called the Locked On Podcast Network. They've got all the teams out there for you: Locked On Dodgers, Locked On Lakers, Clippers. There's a Cavs guy, a Guardians guy, a Browns guy for us Clevelanders. But for me, I have commercials at the beginning. I have a live read at like the 10-minute mark. So I could get a little bit of a respite and go, hey, I want to tell you today about LinkedIn jobs. I do a little read. I actually have it right here.
Yeah.
And then I can pause because then we have to put another commercial in that's a recorded spot. So even with podcasts, you can take a little bit of a break. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
What's your story? What are you hopped up on right now? What's got Eddie going? There's always something that's got you going.
So you mentioned my trip,
Yeah.
and it was fantastic. This has been. I'm going to try and figure out how to focus this. So,
were you in Iceland? Where were you? You were somewhere.
Alaska.
Cold.
I was in Alaska.
All right.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of
But
them.
I want to go to Iceland's. Like, I think in the next 2-3 years we're going to go to Iceland. You asked me what. So I'm going to try and figure out how to articulate this. So you asked me what's going on. It's more of a spiritual, existential thought that I've been really thinking a lot about the last couple of years, and I think it's because we turned 50 this year.
I know,
and it's interesting.
We're old, brother.
Well, here's
Can you believe that?
I'm going to compliment you. You look very young, and
thank you.
People, and I think actually you should go without the beard because I think it takes like I think it takes.
That's what I'm actually going home for a wedding on Sunday at our old stomping grounds on Shaker Boulevard, the Silver's Temple, the temple.
Okay.
And which you remember.
Yeah.
And I know my mom's going to make a comment like, I'm just so glad that you don't have the beard anymore.
Well, it's weird. I like beards. I have a little beard, but I actually think it takes like 5 years of age off of you. You look younger.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
Well, and people don't realize how old I am, and I think it's.
Do people think you're older because
No,
you've been shaving your head for years?
People
right?
think I'm younger. And
they do.
Oh yeah, because I'm thin and I'm in good shape, and I think I have a pretty youthful disposition and demeanor, and I think when I think about like, I don't know, when I see people our age, and actually you have kids and you still look youthful because because a lot of people our age that have kids, like my excuse is, well, I don't have kids, so I should be thin,
right,
and youthful because I don't have anything to take me away from taking care of myself, but you actually look really youthful and even have kids. So how'd you pull that off?
The last year, I actually have been working out and actually exercising.
Well, it shows. There you go.
Never really done. I mean, you and I go back to, the 80s together, and then we graduated in 91. I mean, I remember when I was playing varsity tennis with, our old buddies, Evan and Steve, and all these guys. And when we had to do like the workouts and you had to fill them out, I always just filled them out. I never did the workouts. I lied.
Interesting.
I'd fill.
You
I'd
lied
fill
about
out,
your workouts.
30 push-ups, did them. Weightlifting, sure, did the program. I never did any of it.
That's great.
Because I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
But about a year ago, my wife and I both were like, we need to be healthier. We need to be eating healthy. Let's join this gym, Edge Fitness by us. And so, I mean, you've always worked out.
I've always been. Yeah. And I guess
you had to because of your condition.
Illnesses. Yeah. When I was younger. Yeah. But I wasn't able to work out then. Like I was too ill and sickly. It wasn't until like my probably mid to late 20s where I really figured out what I needed to do to stay healthy and eat
Yeah.
much better. I mean, it's become a way of life. I guess there's a quote from a Tom Petty song, and it's sort of become my mantra over the last 2 years. Most things I worry about never happen anyway.
Yeah.
Do you think that we can change? And let me dive a little deeper here. I've had anxiety issues for a pretty big portion of my life, but I think I've realized I'm done worrying. Like it's exhausting and it's a waste of fucking time. And
Yeah.
I think can we change? Do we have the ability to not be that person that we were for 45 years or 20? And I'm starting, like, I went zip lining and whitewater rafting, and I went on a boat for 9 hours in Alaska, which I was certainly worried about. Like, God, am I going to get food poisoning or seasick? And they're not going to turn the boat around for me when there's 100 people on the boat. And I think I realized I'm just tired of fucking worrying about stuff. And I'm ready to just spend the rest of my life traveling and enjoying myself as much as I can.
Well, I think that, I mean, as long as you're able to pay your mortgage,
Sure.
make sure your power's on.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it obviously is, because it looks like you're at your home office
Yeah.
there, as am I. But you're right. I mean, I've had this kind of epiphany as well. I was always worried about, all right, I mean, I got divorced in 2006. I've been paying child support for 17 years. I've made sure my kids have a college fund. My son is a senior now, so in college. So my 2 years, I did my part. My daughter will be going to school hopefully next year. We'll see. My stepson was in college for a little while. So it's like, those are things you worry about. But you're right, Eddie, like, I think my wife brought up the other day about, can we take one more trip next year? She wanted to go to, we were just talking about it, Santa Fe, with some friends of both of ours. And I'm with you. Like, let's fucking do this. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's only money. And if you can't pay for it, you can't go. All right. I don't know if you watched BS High on HBO Max.
No.
You got to watch this.
Okay.
About this fake high school where the coach basically started and it was real life. He started this Bishop Sycamore High School, and it wasn't a real school. And he got these kids to play football, and they end up playing IMG. They lose 57-0, but he stole money and all that. You have to have money to do these things, but if you have it and you don't worry about it, and I used to say to her, let's budget it, let's take a look, let's see about time. We'll have the kids that weekend, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? We're going. Santa Fe. Never been to New Mexico. And I've been pretty much in every state. I don't think I've been in that one.
Yeah.
And I went, let's go. I'm with you on that. When I saw the pictures of you and your girlfriend, God, you guys look like you're on a great time.
We
And you're
really
right.
are.
Leaving the worries behind, man. Oh, good stuff. I'm 100% with you on this. Like, and I'm sure you had travel anxiety and travel angst getting on these planes and the airlines, but I was around last trip we took my daughter to Portland, Oregon. That's another story for another day to tell you about downtown Portland. But
Oh, God.
and what goes on there.
Yeah.
Great city except for the crackheads. Like, you know, at the airport, everybody is just so uptight and anxious and angry. And it's like, oh my God, people are just wound up. And it's like,
Yeah.
if they're traveling or doing something cool, shouldn't you be feeling relaxed? And it's just,
Well, and
we're going to go to Santa Fe and have a good time.
you talk about, you say that I have an interest in social media, and I do, because I think that angst and anxiety is because even on vacations, people take those devices with them wherever they go. And I specifically have a rule to not post any photos on social media while I'm on vacation.
While you're on the trip. You did them all at the end. You did
As soon as I get home, I'm happy to share and enjoy sharing. And I love the camera on my phone. I love taking photos of wherever I am. But when you actually post and look, and it just like, it turns your brain back to that sort of frenetic runaway train pace where you're not relaxed. At least for me, I'm not relaxed. If I'm looking at all that stuff while I'm away, what's the point of going on vacation? So to your point,
real talk. I'm
yeah.
at this restaurant a couple of weeks ago with my wife,
Yeah.
and these three young women, probably in their, I would say 21, 2019, whatever. Eddie, they took 1,000 pictures at the table,
Yeah.
and it was like, I heard one of them say, "Well, the food's a little cold," and what I wanted to say, and I was just eavesdropping. I wanted to say, yeah, of course the food's cold because you're not fucking eating because you're taking 1,000 pictures.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
can you take one? Maybe a quick selfie, the three of us sitting around the table. Maybe it was like a photo shoot.
Yeah.
And I was like,
is.
at the right. Everything,
Everything.
you and your girlfriend are in Alaska, you want to take some great shots, but then you're going to stop, go to your Instagram. Am I going to put it on my story? Am I going to make it a regular post?
Make it a
What's
thing.
my caption? I got to tag Eddie. I got to tag her. Oh my God. Can you wait and do that later?
Yeah. That's my, like, I don't, people could judge me. Oh, well, you shouldn't even have your camera out while you're looking at a glacier. I'm like, look, I have my camera out, my phone out, because I want to take pictures, and the camera on my phone is much better than any other camera I have. And I'm not going to.
Right.
But you're right. Like that's the rabbit hole. Like if you start posting while you're away, then it's who do I tag? Am I adding this? Am I adding this? And that's where the brain starts to spiral, and you're not in the moment anymore. And that's something that I just really believe in. I think even when I'm at the airport and I look around at everybody with their head down, nobody's talking to one another.
No one's talking.
It's certainly eye-opening and a bit tragic when I look around and see, because part of the joy, like when we were ziplining, you couldn't have your camera or phone out because you wanted to make sure that you don't die. And when you're up in Alaska in the middle of nowhere where there's no cell service, you have to actually engage and talk to one another. And I got to say, most of the joy, or a lot of the joy for me on those experiences, is actually engaging with other people.
Yeah, you're right. Actually having a conversation, I mean, my favorite is when people are at the table at dinner at a restaurant texting with the other people at the table. Why don't you talk to them? They are right over across from you. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I feel, knock on wood, better than ever. We're like, my lady and I are sort of at this spiritual and physical high where everything is feeling good, and it's weird. I don't think about my age, and a lot of our friends are younger than us, but there is something about that number where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I've maybe lived half of my life. I mean, did you feel any sort of wake-up call or anything shift? I know you talked about New Mexico, but anything that's really shifted at all, or is it just like another day, another year, and there you go?
No, it was good. I mean, turning 50 was pretty cool. I mean, we ended up having a little bit of a gathering and get together, some friends, had some that came in from out of town to celebrate, which was good and was fun. It was good to see some people. My brother came in from Cleveland. I think you remember my buddy Jeremy. He came in, but it didn't hit me so we go the next weekend to Progressive Field, home of your mom's favorite team, the Cleveland Guardians.
Sure.
And get a suite. My brother did this. It was kind of more of a family thing. My kids were there. My mom was there. And you get there, and my brother was trying to set it up for me to throw out the first pitch.
Oh, wow.
And it didn't end up happening. So instead, what the Guardians did was they gave us passes to go on the field for batting practice. So whatever. So as I'm walking into the stadium, they stopped me. They're like, we need to see your ID and all this. And I gave it to him. And then he's like, fill out this quick form because, if you get hit by a line drive or something, or a foul ball goes through the netting of the batting cage and hits me in the head, I can't sue the team. I get it. Fill it. It takes 2 seconds. Put your name on it, your signature. And Eddie, it was like name. And normally it says DOB, date of birth. You just put 5/24/73. It said age. So when I had to do that 5 and 50, I'm like, holy shit. Like I had to write down 50.
Right.
That is when it hit me. As weird as that sounds. That's really the only time I haven't felt old since. It was just that one time where I went, oh my God, 50. I had to write 50 down.
Yeah.
My brother's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I just need a second. It just hit me that I'm 50. He's like, oh yeah, they made you put the age down. And he's 47. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
What about you?
What about me? What?
50.
Well, I mean, I think I've. Sorry, I sounded like an asshole there.
No.
Like, what about me? What? No, I think a friend of mine told me she's 54, and she said, you know, when I turn 50, I realized that I may only have another 30 summers left. So I make sure to travel every summer because, you know, I may not have many of them left. And I think
that's a good way of putting it.
I think, and I look at my parents, and they certainly have their share of health stuff. And again, I don't want this to sound too like tinfoil or anything, but I think if you're only relying on the medical field to enhance your health, like only going to doctors, if you're not taking a little bit more initiative and really looking at the foods that you eat, really considering going to acupuncturists and massage therapists and not just resorting to pills to stabilize your health. Like if you're a diabetic, I think our culture now is really lazy. And if you get a diabetes diagnosis, I do think, look, I'm generalizing here. I realize that it's not easy for people to spend 2 hours a day exercising. I realize that it's a lot more expensive to buy a packet of strawberries than it is to buy Big Macs at McDonald's if you have a family of 4. But we live in a culture now where it's exceedingly lazy. It's easy to just pop pills. It's expensive to live in this world, so you have to keep a job. I guess my point here is that I am really embracing living a healthy lifestyle as much as I can because I want the next 40. I mean, I want to hit 90 and or 100, but I want those 40 years to be fulfilling. I want to be able to, you know, travel and still walk and hike and live an active lifestyle. And I really think the decisions that one makes in their 40s and 50s really takes really plays a role in how you are when you're in your 70s or 80s. So that's what I didn't get into this dark cloud when I turned 50, but it certainly just re-emphasized living every day and being as healthy as possible.
I agree.
Long answer, I know.
No, I think you made a great point. And our parents' generation, I don't know if they're lazy. I just don't think they know that everything is in front of them on motherfucking Google and YouTube. Stop calling us and asking, how come I can't get this and this and this? Number one, you can make a phone call. There's an 800 number. But now all of these, whether they're medical centers, wherever. Yeah. If you have a problem with Comcast, your cable's not working, why are you calling me?
Right.
You can call the 888 number, 800 number, or these chats now on these websites where you hit you type it in and go, hi, Matt Dery, I'm in Macomb, Michigan, and my shit's not working. Yeah. And they've got somebody on those chats answering questions for you. You know, how come this isn't working in my garage with my garage door opener? Type in whatever your garage door opener is, brand, into YouTube, how to fix, blah, 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 and there's some video. Eddie, imagine how much better you and I would have done in school back in the day. Well, you and I were fine, but I mean, you went to Pepperdine. No,
I know, sure, but I know what you mean.
But like, if we would have had all these resources there's Chat GPT now, are you kidding? Yeah. I'm glad I'm not teaching anymore. I taught for 3 years at a Jesuit high school here, and I loved it. But like now, I would have to proofread every speech, every outline, every paper, because these kids can type in a Chat GPT. I need a 2-page paper about a passion project that I have on, hooded sweatshirts, and the paper's written for you.
Well, I guess my last
you hit enter and ChatGPT spits it out in 10 seconds.
Well, I guess my last point that I'll make, and then we'll say our goodbyes, you're touching on something that I think a lot about also, and that's confidence. I think our parents' generation, and then even now, the world of social media, I think there's this strange, interesting comparison where it makes people insecure. Like, I think our parents grew up in a world where it was difficult to exude confidence and be comfortable with your decision making. And I think social media actually has that same impact in a completely different way. But I think we live in a society now that deeply lacks confidence. And I'm not talking about the egomaniacal, narcissistic behavior that's on social media, because that's not real. And I don't think people behave that way in real life. I think once you get rid of the phone and you're sort of sitting at your chair at home or sitting wherever, I think there's this onslaught of insecurity that is happening in our culture. And I think, to your point, we need to, I was talking about health and you were talking about YouTube and parents. We need to have the confidence and sort of those inner voices to make us trust ourselves and make us feel like we're actually going to figure it out on our own. And it's somehow culturally we're creating people that don't know how to do that.
No, I think you're spot on. My daughter is 18 years old, and I'm not saying she lacks confidence. She is fantastic, and she's the best, and is doing so well. But you're right. Is this right? Am I doing this right?
Well, let me ask you
to turn to my parents, and it's like, you're 18. My son.
Well, how do you know when to quote unquote parent and let them sort of? They're going to have to figure this out on their own. What's that fine line?
It's tough because you got to let them fail. Failure is a part of life. Most, and this isn't baseball. All right, like in baseball, you fail 7 times out of 10, you're an all-star.
Yeah.
You succeed, at the plate. You fail 7 out of 10 times. You go 3 for 10. You're hitting 300. You're making so much money. And it's like, for these kids now, you're right. If they do something and then immediately want the gratification of a Snapchat response, a like, a heart, heart thing, thumbs up, emojis, thumbs down, whatever it is on whatever, you're getting that instant thing. Whereas back in the day when you and I were younger, it was like, we sound like the get off my lawn guys, but
yeah.
Hey, if you did something and you needed to wait to find out if it was successful or not, or, there's none, it's all gone now. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, so you failed. So what? So there's going to be some responses on a website or an app about it. Who cares? You're not going to get them all right. And, it's hard. It's hard. It's very difficult to be a kid. And then you throw in COVID and being sheltered for years, and not being able to communicate with others and have that contact. So it's all on the phone or it's all on Zoom. I felt, my stepson, like I said, he was a COVID kid and should have gone right to college and did and tried it. It wasn't for him. He's doing fine. He's working now and he's great. But it stunted his growth. Not being able to interact with friends, everything was having to get a reaction on your phone or not being around other people. So it sucks.
Yeah. It's silly. I mean, I'm a grown adult. I'm working on a new record right now. And I think when you work on something personal and then it's like, I'm going to have a PR company that's going to certainly help me, but all PR companies want the artist to also post nonstop all of their work and their process, because that gets the word out there. But it does sort of actually add anxiety and insecurity, because when the artist is forced to sort of do their own PR, own promotion and getting it out there, you naturally, at least I do, but I think most artists do, you end up looking at sort of the feedback and likes, and it creates this avalanche of nausea and psychological torture. So it's not even, I think, just kids. I think it's grown adults too. It's a strange world to navigate.
It is. I mean, if you put out one of your songs and you put it out, let's say on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now, that's another story for another time. We should talk about that other time.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to call a stupid thing, but you put out a song and you're like, hey, quick snippet of my new single, whatever.
Yeah.
Eddie Cohn, whatever it is. And the first 6 responses on Twitter are, if you do jam it or slam it, like the old slam it sucks.
Right.
Meantime, maybe 2 months, 3 months, 4 months later, your label or managers or whoever will say, this is by far your best song. And you're like, well, wait a minute. If I just judged on the first 10 tweets I got on it, it must suck. No.
Yeah.
That's 1%. People always say Twitter's only 3% of the real audience. It was like, that's not the, so if you just go by the first 10 responses you get on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, Facebook, it's not real.
Yeah.
You're getting a quick reaction, but let it breathe, let it sit. Let's see how the song goes. What if you put out the whole song? You can't just judge it based off of, all right, my 30 seconds of my single and the first 10 tweets. That's not how life works. If you fail the first test, your junior year of high school, that doesn't mean you're going to get an F in history. You're going to have the rest of the semester to build it back up. Oh my gosh. Not in today's society.
Well, I think most important question of the day before I say goodbye, people want to know, how do you have all of your hair, and you probably and what's the skincare line, or are you using Botox? Because you don't look like you have many wrinkles on your forehead either. So what is the secret? Tell me, Matt. What is your skincare secret?
Eddie, this is a stupid question.
Come on, let me hear it.
Isn't it supposed to be genetic? So
yeah, I think so.
Supposed to be on my mom's side grandfather. So my grandpa Paul, who died when I was like 1 in 1973, had hair.
I love how you thought it was a stupid question. You were just getting embarrassed. I was being complimented.
I don't know, dude.
It's just luck.
I have my hair, so that's good. I don't moisturize or do much with my skin. It's just, I don't know. You've known me a long time. I've always had this sort of tannish.
Yeah.
When did you start shaving your head? When did you give up and go, all right, it's all going to be gone?
Probably around 40. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Trying to remember you with hair. I remember obviously in high school and all
that.
Yeah,
it didn't really start thinning extensively. That's a fine word, but not to describe one's hair loss so it's not great. Probably in my 30s it started. Yeah. But it wasn't. Wow. Yeah. But then I just sort of, it's weird. Like I was talking to another friend of mine whose husband is losing his hair, and he's probably in his mid-late 30s, and it is a little stressful because you don't know how you're gonna look.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend $5,000-$10,000 on plugs and all that stuff. I guess I could have, but because you're sort of like a completely new person in this weird sort of way, and
the white guy with the bald head is a cool look now.
It is. I think it's
Scott Van Pelt on ESPN.
Bruce Willis, I think, started a long time ago too.
Bruce Willis. Right.
But I mean,
you're a cool guy.
But a lot of guys without hair look ridiculous, old, like a grandfather. I'm not. Here I am. All the grandpas out there are going to hate me. But it can create a look that is not. Just doesn't exude confidence. But I was lucky, I guess. I just obviously I don't care at this point. But
who else made it cool to be bald, fully bald, was Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Back when we were kids. I mean, like he did have that. You could tell he was thinning. The hair was thinning. He had a little bit of that horseshoe pattern look going, and then he kind of made it cool to shave your head. I remember the Fab Five at Michigan.
Sure.
Shaved they all shaved their heads at one point. Like Jalen Rose was kind of cool on the Fab Five, with the high socks, the baggy shorts, and the bald head.
The problem with you is I could talk for another 2 hours. I got to let you go. But my last question, I just thought of this. Do you think LeBron James is a confident man? Because
confident man?
I don't know if so here's my point. He's going bald, or he's been going bald, and he's had like hair transplants for years.
Yeah.
So does a confident man behave that way, or is he just so he is this interesting guy where he really grew up in the world of image, and image to me is so important to him. I don't. this is going to sound so, people out there are going to think I'm nuts. I believe obviously his son had a cardiac arrest at USC, but I also, in this strange, bizarre way, think LeBron loves a good story. So no, I know. So it's sort of like he he spins everything to make his image look good.
I mean, but you know what? I mean, I'm not
doubting that his son did
LeBron. I'm not a giant LeBron fan.
Yeah.
I respect him. He's a top 5 player.
Absolutely. But do you think, if you had to guess, do you think he's as confident as he exudes himself?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't.
I don't either.
But I think part of it too is his upbringing, no dad around to tell him, man to man, hey, I'm so proud of you, or man, you got a great jump shot, or man, you're doing great in school. He didn't have that. So I think that's part of it, not having dad around. Hurt his, but I didn't watch the ESPYs. I haven't watched the ESPYs in years, but I saw his ESPY speech.
Yeah, about coming
on
back.
social media. I thought it was a little bit self-serving.
Of course it is. That's my point. Everything is again, I could never be in his shoes to be that successful, have that many eyeballs is in my I would be anxious all the time. But yes.
I do not think there's some conspiracy about
I don't think
don't thank God that kid is okay.
Don't take my words the wrong way. I do not doubt that he did it.
You said it.
No, I didn't. I said I believe that it happened. My point is that LeBron takes every opportunity to make everything create this image that is perfect, or he's going to spin every event and make him look stronger and more important, and he's self-serving. And I know he has cameras following him around everywhere right now. So those cameras probably went to Cedars-Sinai. So it's like when you have cameras on all the time, he is very aware of that, and he always wants to make his image look powerful and positive. And it's interesting how how they spun. I don't even say spun because it obviously happened, but everything in his life is an opportunity to make him look good,
to build his brand.
Brand, yes.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so on that particular one, but you're right. He definitely is he's very smart with how he does his business.
I guess, you have to be very aware of the
shape that he's in to still be a pretty darn good player.
Yeah,
at that
absolutely.
Age, and all the pressure that's on him to try to chase down Jordan's 6 rings, which I don't think he's going to get there.
No.
And some people still diss his bubble championship with the Lakers. But,
it probably has a little asterisk next to it.
Right, but he still has done what he's done. What did he win? 2 with Miami, 1 in Cleveland, and 1 in LA. That's pretty darn good. Based off of Jordan didn't have to go through social media and all that crap. Now, Jordan also got clotheslined by the bad boys and punched in the face by the Celtics, and basketball's changed now. You can barely lay a finger on a guy.
Yeah.
So times have changed a little bit, but it's an interesting point though, Eddie, for sure. And I'm rooting for that kid because
me too. I love the kid.
It's got to be so difficult to follow in your dad's footsteps.
Oh my God.
Playing at USC right down the street, which I guess that's fine. I would have loved to have seen him just go across the country, go to Ohio State or something and get away a little bit, but tough to get away from LA and those, you live there, the great weather and palm trees and all that. So
yeah. Well, Matt, are you looking at your phone? You checking the time?
I got a work text that beeped, but I'm trying to stay focused.
I just caught you. I just got you. It's all good. Sorry this got boring.
No, not at all. It beeped. I got an alert on my computer,
it's okay.
But I didn't go to my computer because I want to keep seeing you.
You went over. We're at 11:48, so we have to go. And Matt, it's
do you like Pacific time? If you had to pick a time zone.
Oh, dude, this is the only time to live in because the fucking sports games are over by like 8 or 9 o'clock. I don't know how people on the East Coast do it. To stay up till midnight or 1 to watch it. That's right. No wonder the people in Boston are probably like getting into car wrecks the next day because they were up till 1 o'clock in the morning watching their favorite team.
So like next Thursday here in Detroit, people are going crazy. The Lions have a good team. So the Lions are going to play the Chiefs. Thursday night, primetime 8:20. If you're a 9 to 5er,
Forget it.
and you're this diehard NFL fan, can you leave your work, get in that terrible traffic to get home in LA in time for the game? Like 5:20 for a football game, prime time when it's still light outside. I don't know. That's why I kind of like Central Time. Mountain Time's not bad.
Dude.
Pacific, it's early.
Dude.
Isn't it?
People always figure out a way to leave work early to get to the sports bar down the street if they have to watch it live. You know, you're thinking about the early.
Eastern Time's the worst. I'm with you about Eastern Time.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
I mean, maybe Mountain Time, you know, a 6 o'clock start time. You don't have to work.
I like Central. I'm a fan of Central.
But you know, football at 10 a.m. is great. You're having brunch, watching a little football. You know, I think it's great. I think
all right.
Yeah, the early start time out here is, and also just those baseball games. You know, go until 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast.
You know what? Now with this pitch clock.
No, I know.
Man,
We didn't even talk about
games
that.
Are breezing.
Yeah. We didn't talk about what the heck happened to the Indians. You would know better than I.
Guardians.
Guardians. Sorry.
I know. It's still tough to swallow sometimes.
Yeah. I didn't mean to be offensive. I've just said Indians for 49 years. So, Matt, it's always. Are you doing anything for Labor Day, or you're just going to stick around?
No, I got a bunch of stuff. I do Sunday. I do have to go home for this wedding. So
okay,
it's like a day trip.
Yeah,
I'm not spending the whole weekend in Cleveland. I just got too much going on. But
yeah.
Oh man, what about you? Anything good out there?
We're going to Top Golf with a friend on Monday.
Oh, Top Golf.
Love Top Golf. And then we do our workout on Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to meet a friend for breakfast Sunday. It's lifestyles of the rich and famous, I guess. Really, really mellow weekend. It's good.
How often do you get In-N-Out Burger? Because I think their burgers are fantastic.
They're the best,
really
but I barely eat meat anymore.
No?
I have fish like 3 times. I'll have a burger once a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, when we were in Montana, I had a burger because the meat there is supposedly fantastic, and it was. It was one of the best hamburgers.
It was good?
Have you been to Montana?
No, I have not.
Got to go to Montana.
Where'd you go? Like Billings or one of those?
No, Bozeman. Bozeman and
Bozeman.
Yeah,
right,
Bozeman's like the place to go, and Yellowstone, which was like an hour outside of Bozeman. I never been. It was amazing. It was incredible.
It was funny, and you know this. We take my daughter to Portland. We go do the whole Oregon thing. We go up to Vancouver, Washington. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We land back in Indiana, where my daughter is, and we're driving from the airport to drop her back off at her mom's house. And I'm looking up into the sky or just above, and I'm like, where are the mountains? They're gone. Like, to be out in Oregon for 5 days and then to come home and go, like, the mountains are just the best.
It's
like,
incredible.
Even when, last time I was in LA, whenever that was, and seeing the mountains and the skyline and the smog.
Yeah. It's gotten better though. The smog. It has. No, it's. I remember being out here, 30 years ago. It's completely different skyline.
Gosh, you've been there 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have.
It's nuts.
Longer than that.
Yeah, probably 32.
You were there at 19, weren't you?
32. So
30. And how many days into Pepperdine did you know I'm never, ever, ever going back to the 216?
That's a good question. I think I just was relieved to be out of Ohio. I mean, it could have been probably Arizona or Florida, I think, but there is something about just the energy in the sky and the water. It was probably within a year. I was like, it never dawned on me that I would move home after that. It just felt like I was going to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have.
Yeah. I mean, we sometimes think about like, moving to Arizona or Colorado just to have more space. It's really tough to have something really nice out here that's affordable. It's almost impossible. But that's a whole other podcast.
We'll do that on the next episode.
You're a financial guy too. We'll talk finance next time.
We won't. Boring.
Yeah.
Not boring.
It's boring, but it's important. It's valuable.
It's important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if anybody's listening to this, look me up at financialarch.com. I'll tell you, you can simplify the complexity of your money decisions.
There we go.
Live a life of freedom.
Yeah.
I'll help you with that.
Matt, it's always it's good to see you, dude.
All right, buddy. Back at you, Ed.
Thanks, man.
Always a pleasure. Can't wait to hear some of your new music and
Yeah.
keep putting those videos out of yourself in the tank top walking down the streets, passing out your music. I was cracking up.
Oh, good.
I see everything.
I have no idea if anything I do is funny or entertaining, but I enjoy it. So I guess that's all.
I could tell how happy you were. It was funny. You're like, hey, I'm just walking down the street, gonna pass out some music.
Yeah, man.
Love it. All right, Ed.
All right, dude. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, buddy.
Peace, man. Later.
Later.
Bye.